I'm telling you, I'm going very big on Bitcoin towards the end of this year. Like very, very, very big. And so I'll do that super short trading. Now I'm not gonna trade it. I'm just gonna like throw money into it. But I'll do like the analysis at the end, right? So today I'm gonna do I'm gonna do Sunday swings today, right? So we're gonna go through all of the markets that we're looking to trade. And then after that, we'll get into obviously part 1 of area of interest. Then tomorrow will be part 2, and then Wednesday part 3. So we got into it a little bit yesterday. I mean, not yesterday, on the last class. Very simple. But before I do any of that, let's first get into the markets. What are we going to be trading this week? What are we not going to be trading this week? What are we going to do? What are we not going to do, right? So let's start off with what we originally going to start, right? So now that you guys saw all of last week, you guys saw kind of how we do it. Let's just do it again, right? This is what we do again and again and again and again and again. So we got Euro GBP. Obviously, last week we identified that we were bullish. We just needed it to retest area of interest. This is where we went down to the daily. As you can tell, it retested our daily area perfectly, our area of interest perfectly, and then it just boom, skyrocketed, right? So this right here, I honestly would have caught this, but you know, like there's just so much going on that like it's either one thing or the other, right? Like I'm a human, you know, I can only focus on like one thing at a time. And, you know, like I try my best, but like the prediction was there. Like I predicted this and then I predicted all of this. So it's just a matter of figuring out how to get in. So I'm sure if I would have paid more attention to the charts. Oh, wow. Like 4 or 5 people are saying that they caught it. Tafari caught it. Great entry, fire. Yeah. So it's just simple. Once you understand what the market's going to do, when, where, like once you understand where the market is, and like this is basically what we identified last week. Like we knew where it was, right? This wasn't at the top. It wasn't at the bottom. It was right in the area where you're looking to buy. So you just figure out where to get in and that's it, right? You don't figure it out. I give you guys a trading plan. So, you know, obviously you check it off. So we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to start off in the weekly. Where are we on the weekly now? So now we have, let's take this off. And obviously the 4 hour, I don't know. Well, we'll get there now. All right. So the weekly now is bullish. Where is it? Is it at a top? Is it at an area of interest? Or is it a, okay, fire. Fire. Yeah, I didn't even get to option 3. It's clearly at a higher high, right? So we need a higher low to enter this trade long. So we're either at the top, we're either on the way to the pullback, or we're at the area of interest, right? Same thing vice versa. We're either at the bottom, we're either on the way to the area of interest, or we're already at the area to then sell, right? As of right now, you can obviously tell we are at the top, right? So this is where we go down to the daily. On the daily, are we at the top? Are we on the way to the pullback, or are we at the area of interest? Okay, okay. All right, exactly. We are at the top, meaning this, like all I'm gonna do is this exact same move right here. You're seeing this. I'm just gonna move it. I'm literally just gonna drag it from here to here. As you can see, we're just waiting for the same exact rinse and repeat, break and retest. My boy Fire is just like fire, easy, easy. So we're waiting for this exact same higher low to happen at the previous structure level. We have higher high, higher low, reach the structure level, push. Now we're waiting for the exact same thing. So all we have to do now is just update this. This now moves to here. Where does this move to now? Does this move to 1, 2, or 3? One, 2, or 3? Tricky, huh? All right, yeah, all of you guys got it. Exactly. 3. So it moves to the higher low. So now, again, anything that happens in between these 2 points, the daily is bullish, we know what's up, right? All we're doing right now is we're understanding where are we in the market, right? We're not marking up area of interest right now. Matter of fact, let me take both of these off. Let me just leave them on just so I know. Right. So right now we're just marking off these, like, I mean, right now what we're doing, we're identifying where are we, right? So now let's go down to the 4 hour. Where are we on the 4 hour? Are we at a top on the pullback, or are we at a area of interest to buy? Okay, a couple different answers. Don't be shy. Everything's directly. Yeah, okay. So we're technically at the top still. Right? This is clearly a higher high, right? None of these are clean elbows. So this is just a higher high. So as of right now, off all three time frames are bullish, making this technically a 30% trade, right? But we already know that we don't buy just off of it, everything being bullish. Like that could be a huge error because like right now, it's literally like right now, right now, if you were to buy this, you're basically buying right here. You're basically buying as if the market were to be at that higher high. Like you're just looking to buy that, like you're buying right here, which obviously, where you're going to put your stop loss below this structure level, that's like crazy, right? You have to put a small stop loss and then you already know what happens there. It would take you out, right? So we're clearly at a higher high in this market, meaning we need to have a higher low to take the trade long. So this is where we would mark off our area of interest. We have multiple area of interest, but I'm going to get into that after we identify the markets first, right? I want to get our top 5, top 3, whatever markets we decide, and then we'll mark off our area of interest, right? Actually, let's do it backwards this time. Let's do a full top-down analysis on this one, exactly what we're waiting for. And then when it comes to the next pairs, I want you guys to tell me if it's good or not, right? So we know that the weekly is at a top, daily is at a top, 4-hour is at a top, meaning this market is at the highest point as of right now. We don't buy at a highest point and we're not looking to sell this, right? Because this could just keep going. So what we would need, because we don't know where we are in this move. We don't know if we're at the top of it. We don't know if we're in the middle of the push up. We just know that we're creating a higher high. Like we don't know if this move, if it's going to be this size and we're trying to get this little bullshit counter trend trade sell. We don't know any of that. Like we know that we need this pullback to an area of interest to then buy, right? So right now we need for it to have a retracement either on the weekly or the daily, right? So I personally myself, when it comes to setting up areas of interest, I always look to start on the weekly. I need to buy at a weekly resistance or at a weekly support level, right? So that is number one thing. So if we're at a weekly top right now, we're not buying at any weekly support. Like we're clearly at a top. We would need another weekly candle to come in and then create a wick like that, right? So as of right now, as you can tell, our weekly area of interest is pretty obvious because it would be either this point right here, or you simply look left and you find the closest point, right? So this could have any minor retracement like this, and then it can blow up to the upside and you're like, what the fuck, what happened? Like it just had a random pullback. There was nothing there that made sense. But you got to understand, like there's a bunch of different, areas of interest to the left. There's a bunch of different supports and resistance. There's a bunch of different levels where price can reject from, right? So this is where we obviously look left. And we find the first point when price starts to pull back that it can have the first rejection and then head to the upside. So I start off scanning to my left. So let's start. So again, if this is the higher high on the weekly, this is the higher high on the weekly, where would the higher low on the weekly be? Would it be at 0.1 or 0.2? All right, fire. So this is where we put our higher low on our weekly time frame right here. So we're looking for areas of interest on the weekly in between these two zones, right? Because we literally get this box, we throw it to the left, and then we're looking for buys. We're looking for support and resistance levels in between this zone right here. We don't do nothing other than literally wasting our time putting a level up here or putting a level down here. It is completely irrelevant. It does not matter because the moment a weekly candlestick body closes under this, now we're bearish, right? So you mark off your zone and now you start from the top to the bottom. You're not going to put an area of interest down here first because it does absolutely nothing. Like we got to go through so much shit before we get to that area of interest. You get what I mean? So you got to start from the top down. Same thing how we do a top-down analysis. We start weekly, daily, 4-hour. So now you're going to start from the top of the box all the way to the bottom, right? So first area of interest would be the first area that has the most taps, has like the most rejections or whatever. I would personally maybe count something like this one right here. This is where you just mark it off. As you can tell, it is a level of resistance, a level of resistance. Let me take off this line. A level of support. If you look left, some resistance, support, 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 resistance, resistance. So this can possibly have a weekly wick into this area and then head to the upside, right? So this you can mark off as your area of interest number 1. Let me delete this. You can mark this off as your area of interest 1, right? So is there anything else on the weekly that looks like a potential area of interest? Because there's multiple different areas of interest depending on the time frame, right? I personally like to mark off either 1 or 2 per time frame. So 1 or 2 on the weekly, 1 or 2 on the daily. Usually the majority of the time they tend to line up at the same time. So like this on the weekly looks good on the daily as well. So another area of interest that we can potentially mark off, again, we just get a little arrow and we're like, all right, we look left. This can be the first area where price can come in and then reject. If there's nothing from here, what can be the next area? We keep it coming, nothing clean around here. We come in, boom. This is clearly a level of support, support, resistance, resistance. Ensure we drag this left. It's going to be an area of support, an area of resistance, 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 resistance. I personally look for the area with the most touches. That's just me because it obviously makes the most sense. You don't want something to have one tap and then you base your whole entire trade off that. And I don't like dragging the box all the way to the left. I like having it like right where it is. There's no point of having it all the way to the left if you know it's like this is the zone. This is the zone, you just leave it where it matters, right? So that's why I kind of have it here. This one, I'm just gonna leave it like this just for this example so you guys understand. This would be my area of interest number 1 on the weekly. Then this would be my area of interest number 2 on the weekly, right? So these are 2 possible areas where price can come back into and then reject, come back into and reject, right? I'm not going to keep it going like this. This would be like another one. As you can tell, it is resistance, support, resistance, support, support, resistance, support. Keep it going. You can make this area of interest number 3. But at that point, we would literally have to wait almost a month for this to pull back. As you can tell, it's taken about 3 weeks to have this push up. So it would probably take 5 weeks for it to have one pullback here, then like another one. So just for now, I won't mark up area of interest number 3. Usually on the weekly, what is going on here? Usually on the weekly, I just put the closest areas that make the most sense. So this would be 1 and 2, right? You guys get this perfectly. Is it clean, simple, fire, perfect? Clean, clean. Does it matter which area of interest it bounces off in the trade? No. So we'll get into that, right? Like it doesn't matter, but I'm going to show you like how we know which one to buy, which one to sell. Like once price gets here, this is where we implement the strategy. Like we haven't gotten into the strategy part yet. I'm just teaching you guys how to read the market still. Like I'm teaching you guys how to properly analyze like the charts. I need you guys to understand where we are. After where we are, then we're ready to sell or buy. But as of right now, we're just learning where we are in the trade. Are we at the right point? Are we not at the right point? So that's all we're doing right now, right? I've been doing that. He just cleared it perfectly. Fire. As a higher high, higher low. The only market on the weekly. No, like you're supposed to mark the higher high and the higher low on all time frames. Like you're supposed to put these lines on the weekly, daily, 4-hour, all the time frames. It's on the first video. The first video says it all. Right? So this is where we'll go down to the daily time frame, right? So we have our area of interest marked off on the weekly. Now we go down to the daily. So now comes the same exact thing on the daily. So like I said, we get our higher high and our higher low. We modify that to here. And this is at the exact same point. So notice how this box now is irrelevant on the daily. Like we're not looking for area of interest on the daily in this whole entire zone here, because just look how much shit it is. Like we're like if we were to look for all of this, the daily would go bearish by here. Like so much more would happen, right? So we do the exact same thing. We put the box at the higher high and then we'll put it at the higher low. So we're looking for areas of interest in between this box for the daily, because at the moment we break under this, we're now bearish on the daily. We're no longer looking for buys, right? So it's the same exact thing. We'll look for areas of interest, and what a coincidence that our first area of interest that price can come back, use it as resistance, 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 happens to also be the weekly area of interest number 1. So this is where you have a huge juicy spot where you're looking to like get in. So this is literally like what I told you guys, like price is literally going to tell you exactly where to buy or where to sell. This is clearly going to tell you right now. It's an area of interest on the weekly, area of interest 1 on the daily. So clearly this is an area where price can reject from both time frames, making this a stronger area to have the push to the upside. Can it still break through this and come here? Yes. Remember, like price does whatever it wants. All we're doing is once it gets here, does it make sense or no? So that's literally all we're gonna do, right? As of right now, this would be an area of interest number 1. As you can tell, the area of interest number 2 on the weekly time frame, if price were to get there, that means that the daily would have to go bearish in order for the weekly to have that pullback to this area of interest, which is a very easy possibility, and it has to happen. Now, obviously, since the previous classes, you guys understand that in order for this to have a higher low here, the daily has to go bearish. We understand that, and we're totally okay with it. We don't really give a shit. Like, we can capitalize off the sell as well. We can capitalize off the whole thing. But the main thing is you're understanding what is going on. You're not confused on whatever's happening. You know exactly what is happening. You guys see this example? You guys see how clear it is? How like it's literally like right in front of you. What if it only wicks and no close? You just said it. It doesn't count. It's only if it gets a body closure under. And that happens a lot. It's very, very common. But you literally just answered your own question. Like, what if it wicks in, it didn't body close under, nothing happened. So everything is clear right now. You guys are seeing how this is clearing up. Fire. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So we understand that this would be the area of interest on the weekly and on the daily. Personally, I really don't have any other area of interest. Maybe this right here. But honestly, like when I kind of do these things, I'll mark off a zone. So I'll do something like this. But this we'll get into like obviously part 2 and part 3 when like a little bit more details. Right now, I just want you guys to get the overall understanding of it, right? You open my eyes to their adventure. All right, cool. Yeah. So all I want you guys right now is to just understand it. We'll get into the details tomorrow, Wednesday. Like right now, it's just to, you guys understand what is going on, right? So right now we have area of interest on the weekly and the daily. So this would be an area where we're looking to buy. If not, we're looking to buy here if it makes sense, right? So this, as of right now, it's cleared at the top. It needs a pullback. We just get our alarm. We put it, edit, whatever. Retesting area of interest. As of right now, it looks good, makes sense, but it's clearly not ready. This can probably take a week. Who knows how long it could take. For now, let's just leave it up there, right? So simply move to another pair. Clearly that shit's not ready. Now, GBP JPY is where we would want Euro GBP to be. As you can tell, we've had the pullback to here to then buy. As you guys can tell, like you guys remember last week, or like this shit excites me. Like I've literally called this whole entire move. Like you guys are seeing this, right? Like I've literally told you guys the daily's gonna do the little wick. It's gonna have the pullback all the way into this area. Like Johnny's tripping out. Like I've literally had like I predicted this whole entire thing, and I'm now gonna predict the next thing, which is gonna be this or this, right? It's gonna obviously make sense now. So you guys see what I mean? Like it's either gonna go up or gonna go down. Now you know how to predict whether it's gonna go up or go down. You guys see the importance of the moment it body closed under this line, how it did the little pullback and then it sell. You're seeing the little body closure under, how that makes the difference, how it now made it go bearish. You guys are seeing that shit, right? Like I'm not making this shit up, right? Like I'm just showing you what the market's doing. I'm just showing you it. You watch the whole move. Yeah. Okay. So right now, let's see where we are on the weekly on GBP JPY, right? So first things first, we're bullish. Are we at the top? Are we on the way to pull back, or are we at the area of interest? So 1, 2, or 3. Okay. 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 Perfect. Exactly. We are at the area of interest. As you can tell, we have pulled back. We're now at the resistance, wicks through here, support through here. Cool. So now we know we're at the weekly area of interest, right? Or potentially area of interest, right? We're just at an area where we can possibly buy, right? Exactly, Jeremy, 100%. Right? So this is what we needed last week. Clearly we got that. So now we take that off. The daily, are we at a top? Are we on the pullback? Or are we at an area of interest? So 1, 2, or 3. Okay. This is fire. This is literally fire. All right. So daily, we're at an area of interest, right? And then 4 hour, we understand where we are, right? Main thing is these 2 4 hours kind of more for like entries and stuff. So obviously last week I tried to get these little sells to the downside. Like that is literally what happened. That right there. But it is what it is. You know, we simply move on to the next trade. No big deal. So again, everything, we go back to the top. So we're obviously buying. So this is where we would go and mark off area of interest, right? So for number 2, weekly retesting area of interest. Remember, you saw how last week we were needed retest. Now we are retesting it. So we're literally just marking off what the time frames are doing. Is there anything else you can kind of say here on the weekly? Anything else that you can type up as a confluence? Because what we do is after we understand what the time frames are doing, whether they're bullish or bearish, whether they are at an area of interest or not, then we start off from the higher time frame again, and we identify anything we can see here. So first thing we could see is we're at an area of interest, right? So that's where this comes in. For number 3, is there anything else you can see on the weekly time frame that you could write as a confluence? Perfect. Max, you got it. No, Dave. I mean, does it matter that if it's only a 20% trade? Trust me, you're like, this is literally going to answer it for you. We're literally going to build that out together. This is going to answer it for you. So no rush. Is there anything else? I mean, it's something we haven't taught yet. So no big deal, right? So it would be round psychological 160, 300, right? So I get it. You know, it's an added confluence. So weekly retesting round psych 163.100. Is there anything else you guys can see on the weekly time frame? Nothing, right? If there's nothing, we simply move on to the next time frame. This is not supposed to be like a fucking an escape room. Like it's just if it's clear, it's literally gonna tell you it. If there's nothing, you just move on. There's really nothing else. Like you can't just type up a bunch of stuff like, oh shit, the weekly has a 50% retracement of this candlestick. No, bro, you don't got to do that. It's just simple. It's doing this, dope. Next time frame, right? So now daily time frame, right? So now we're on the daily time frame. What can you mark off from the daily time frame as a 4th confluence? So now we go number 4. Obviously 4 is retesting. So we put here daily retesting area of interest. So what would you put as 5? What is something clear as day that you can see? Okay. Exactly. Retesting EMA. It's literally doing it right now. So as you can tell, the EMA is a very, for me, it's just an added confluence. It's literally like another number on here. Just makes more sense. It's a dynamic support. It's a dynamic resistance level. As you can tell, where resistance went under, where support went above. In this case, we're above the EMA, we're above the daily area of interest, we're above the round psychological level, and we're above the week. You're seeing now how we're building a trade, right? Like the whole entire goal is to build this out as much as you can, so you can present this to your grandma and just be like, look, this shit's gonna do this. Look how many reasons it's gonna go here. She's gonna throw the money at you. That's the whole point. Like, you gotta understand what you're doing. Like, you gotta like make sense out of whatever's going on, right? So is there anything else you can mark off on the daily? Is there anything else? Nothing, right? There's nothing. It's simple. There's literally nothing. Cool. You just move on. Next, right? So this is where we go down to the 4 hour. It's not supposed to be rocket science. If there's nothing clean, there's nothing clean. So as you can see, right, I want to obviously like save this for the next classes and all that. But as of right now, we are at, look at the difference between this trade versus this trade. Here, everything is bullish, but we have no retest of area of interest. Let me just do this. Right? Let me just do this. As you can see, look at the difference between both of these trades. We have no retest of area of interest, no retest around psychological level. We're not at a daily area of interest, and we're not retesting the EMA. So look how many more reasons we have to take this trade versus this one, even though this one has more time frames in sync. You're seeing that, right? This is even 10%. You're seeing the difference. How do you mark up the percentages from 2 to 5? Amazing question, Jeremy. We'll get into that the next following classes. But I mean, yeah, don't worry about that. So you guys are seeing the difference, how this one makes more sense, even though we don't have the confidence. So this is why I told you, like, from class 1, just because we have these time frames in sync, like, this is not it, guys. Like, we still got plenty of time, plenty of more like things to trading than you guys may think. So as of right now, this trade makes more sense just because of where we are. But like I told you guys, I don't want to take the trade unless these 3 time frames are in sync. So there's certain things that on this pair we would have to wait. And, you know, it would probably not have all 3 time frames in sync due to the fact that in order for that, the daily would have to literally break above this, above this structure level. But as of right now, I just want you guys to understand where we are. So we're clearly at an area where just because of this, it has a higher reason to go up versus down, right? So this is good. I would definitely add this to the top of the watch list. So this would be, this right now, based off of the percentages that we have, it would be a 10%. But obviously, all of these right here have a certain percentage, and I'll get into the next classes. So don't even worry about it, right? Like, we still have a whole like 10 other pairs to trade, right? I mean, to analyze. So NZD CAD, right now. So where are we on NZD CAD? Are we at top, pullback? So I'm just gonna say 1, 2, or 3, right? Like, you guys understand it now. We're either at the top, we're either on the way, or we're at the area of interest. So 1, 2, or 3. Okay. Okay. All right. All right, cool. So obviously for this, you know, it's not top, it's the bottom. So you guys said 1, so even better. So we're obviously at the bottom on the weekly. All right. Daily. Are we at 1, 2, or 3? Nice. All right. Tricky, tricky. Nice. Okay. So on the daily, we're at 3. We're at area of interest. We're at the pullback. We're at an area where clearly it's a level of support that we can possibly use as resistance. So all we're doing is understanding where we are. And then on the 4 hour, doesn't really matter because we only sell at weekly or daily areas of interest. The 4 hours just for entries, right? So are we bullish or bearish? Are we bullish or bearish on the daily? All right, fire, bearish, so we're bearish on the daily. And then the 4 hour, I don't know, are we bullish or bearish? I don't know, it could be a little tricky now. Oh yeah, I can see it. Yeah, it's technically bullish. Let's just mark this off. There we go. So for our bullish, so technically right now we're at a 20%, right? But we are at a weekly bottom, but we're at a daily area of interest. And as you can tell, like on the weekly, we're like at a pretty bottom. It's not terrible, but it's not like great. So obviously we're at a weekly bottom. Like you can tell that daily support and resistance that we're at, you can't really see it on the weekly at all. Like it's just this wick. So I mean, sometimes destruction the weekly is not clear. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course, Jeremy. Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't really look like that clean to me. Like, so I'm good. I mean, it's just really that simple. Like, what would you rather take, this trade or this trade? You know, like it's really that simple. Where would you rather put your money at? So trades that I have to second guess or like, oh shit, should I? I just move on to the next one. Let me put my phone to charge. All right, so moving on to AUDCHF. So AUDCHF, this is crazy because I caught this shit too. I mean, you guys remember this one? Like who remembers this? Like if you guys just go watch last week's recording, like this literally like says it. Like it's crazy, but whatever. All right, so are we 1, 2, or 3 on the weekly time frame? Exactly. We're at 1. We're at the bottom. Weekly is at the bottom. Obviously, because we have a lower low. You flip it around. If you're a better buyer, we are at a higher high. You guys are seeing that, right? Simple. We're just understanding where we are in the market. You can just see that from just looking at it. Daily, are we at a 1, 2, or 3? Bit confusing. All right, a couple of different answers. Okay. Perfect. This is a great example, right? So we're getting a mix of 1 or 2s. So it really depends off of where you set your area of interest. So this is, if you're unclear, this is what we're, because like we don't know if we're at a 2 because we don't know where our area of interest is, right? So perfect. It's no right or wrong answer because we haven't set an area of interest. So on the weekly area of interest, where will you set your first area of interest? Listen to what I'm saying. First area of interest, right? Your first area of interest, would you set it at 0.1 or 0.2? Your first area of interest, would it be at 1 or 2? Okay, see, I'm tricking some of you guys. It's working. So remember, the first thing that I said would be set your area of interest 1 at the first point where price can have its pullback and then go. Like this is your area of interest 1 because price can come here and then go. This would literally be your area of interest 2 because price can come here and then go, right? As you can tell, this is a level of support, level of support, level of support, level of resistance, support through here. Like I'm sure there's more, right? So clearly it's a level of support, right? So this would be your area of interest 1, because price can come into this level and then reject and head to the downside, right? So it was literally a super trick question. I blame it on the chart being okay. Do you guys want me to flip it and make it a buy? Is it clear as a buy? Doesn't matter. No? Okay. So put it back to sells. Yeah, you guys got to practice both ways. So, okay. So then what would be your area of interest number 2? Would it be 0.1 or would it be 0.2? Fire. Okay, you guys learn from your mistakes. This is awesome. So it would be 0.1 because this could be the next area where price can come into and then reject, right? This is your area of interest number 2. It's very simple. All right, so this should be your area of interest, number 2, right? Weekly. And then we'll throw here weekly. So then your area of interest, fuck, my bad, guys. I kind of like broke a little rule, remember? We're supposed to put this like this. I do it, I just get sidetracked, but please, when you guys have your homeworks, make sure to have it ready like this. So like sets like it's like a uniform, right? I should have done this. This is probably where you guys got confused. So remember, we're looking for buys or sells in between this zone right here. Anything in between this, we're looking levels of support and resistance. It's clear? You guys see it? Okay, fire. So your area of interest number 3, would it be at 0.1 or 0.2? All right. Easy. 0.1, obviously, because that 0.2 is outside of the zone, making this bullish if we were to break it. So as you can tell, these are 3 different points where if price were to have gotten to, we can reject here, or reject here. These are just areas where you just want to sell at if price gets there. Yeah, I got you. Okay. So we have these. I'm just gonna take off this one because it's just like too many lines on the chart. All right, so now we'll go down to the daily time frame. So now in the daily time frame, we can identify, obviously, this would be the lower low. So now where would you guys place the lower high? Would you guys place the daily lower high at 0.1, 2, or 3? All right. A lot of you guys saw the recording. So I would place it at 0.2. As you can see, 2 is a cleaner elbow than this. Like this has no elbow. As you can see, like this literally had a little bit of a retracement, retested previous structure point, sold. This right here just kind of stopped and just like no elbow, right? So, I mean, it could be a little tricky. If you look left, it did reject this level. You could put this as the elbow. It's very tricky for me. I'm just gonna go with whatever looks cleaner. This just looks cleaner. I'm sure on the 4-hour, this is probably a clean elbow. Yeah, you see this point right here is the clean elbow on the 4-hour. So I mean, it really depends. I'm personally just gonna stick with whatever looks cleaner, right? So now on the daily, we know where we are, right? So I'm gonna ask you guys, like we marked this off as the weekly area of interest 1 and 2. Now, obviously, we know that this is the zone right here. So let's do this right here. This is the zone. Let's take this off. That literally did exactly what I wanted to, and we did not catch it, but whatever. So let's scoot to the left, and now we're going to put our area of interest in between these lines, right? So where would you mark off your area of interest number 1 on the daily time frame? Would you do 0.1 or 0.2? 1 or 2? Tricky. 2, right? Because clearly it's not an area of interest because we're obviously above it. So this doesn't even count. Like this, literally, there was just like some random line I threw there. The area of interest number 2, because an area of interest, like how is this going to be an area of interest if you're already above it? You see how the daily is above that price. So an area of interest would have to be a price, anything that is above, because we would need for price to come in and then reject from it. You guys get me? So obviously the area of interest number 2, what a coincidence that is also the weekly area of interest. So this is where we'll come in and then we'll put same thing, area of interest. Oh shit, what the fuck? Area of interest 1 on the daily. And then we'll do the same exact thing. We'll find a clean area of interest. A clean area of interest number 2 on the daily. Kind of pretty obvious. It looks to happen to be the same exact zone. So as you can see, support, 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 some resistance, a little choppy, but it's the next clean area. There's nothing else in here that looks cleaner than that. Like this could look good, but it doesn't make as much sense. Just rather just put this other one that has more touches, right? This literally only has 1 touch versus this one that has 5, 6. You want for the one that has the most touches. So what a coincidence. Area of interest number 2 happens to also be on the daily. So do you change? We'll get into that to the next classes. No worry. So right now, clearly you can tell both of these areas, once it gets there, the juicy areas that you're looking to sell at, right? You guys are seeing that. You guys are seeing how it makes sense. So as of right now, we know where we are on the daily, right? Before it was a little bit confusing, but are we at 1, 2, or 3? 1, 2, or 3? Are we at the exactly perfect? So we're at the pullback. So we're on, what is it? On my way. We're on our way. Area of interest. So we're on our way to an area to look to sell, right? All we're just doing is we're understanding where we are in the market. What does 1, 2, or 3 mean? So are we either at the top or the bottom? Are we on the way to the area of interest, or are we at the area of interest? So we know exactly where we are now. We know exactly what we need. We know exactly what we're waiting for. So AUDCHF will come here. I like to put it like a little bit under. I don't like putting it like exactly. So I'll put here retesting area of interest, right? So this one looks good, right? Like we're obviously at a lower low, but you see the difference between this lower low and then this lower low. Like you see how it just looks different. Like you see how it looks like this just looks cleaner. Like this lower high would look so much cleaner versus whatever happens here. You get me? Why under? Because it just like, why would you put it exactly? Like I don't, because sometimes exactly what happened with the last trade, like I put my area of interest right on it, and like it sometimes won't reach all the way to the area of interest. You want to like just be notified when it's on the way there. Like when it's literally a couple pips away, it's not a big deal. You could put it on exactly, it doesn't really matter. Does the weekly area of interest always align? Don't worry, we'll get into the next classes. Right now, we just want to understand where we are. Those little, like all those little fine details, like how do I properly align and how do we do all that will be in the next classes. We still got like a lot of markets to go through. So as of right now, this one bump up, right? This one looks a little bit better than this one, right? As you can tell, like this is crazy, right? So actually, you tell me what looks like it's gonna be ready to trade first. This one or this one? It's really that simple. What looks more ready? One, or I mean, Euro GBP or AUD? It's really that simple. As you can tell, where we are right now on Euro GBP would be right there, would be at the lowest point, right? Because we're at the bottom. As you can tell, this already started its pullback to the area of interest. Euro GBP versus AUD. AUD is already like this. It's already on the way to the area that we're looking to buy at. Let's just take all this shit off. All right, so this one clearly is closer to take a trade, so we'll throw it up here. This one's already at this area. You guys are seeing how we're building it out. You guys are seeing how it's looking like a lot more, you know? Would the daily and weekly area of interest ever be different? Yeah, of course. These are just super coincidence that they happen to be at the same spot. But yeah, for the majority, they do tend to be different. So this one, we already did this one. USD CAD, we called this perfectly. Kind of annoying as well. But same exact thing, right? So are we 1, 2, or 3 here on USD CAD? All right. So we're clearly at the top. So we're at obviously a higher high. Where will we mark off our higher low? 0.1 or 2? Okay. Clean here. 0.2. Do you check every single pair? Yep, that's what we're gonna do now. So obviously this already happened, so we understand. confluences. Whoa. To go long. Weekly is bullish. We are at the top. Daily is, what are we on the daily? Are we bullish or bearish? Okay. Daily is bullish. And are we at 1, 2, or 3? Okay. Okay. So the daily is obviously at the top, right? And then the 4 hour, are we bullish or bearish? Bullish. Oh shit, my bad. I was zooming a little bit closer next time, right? So obviously bullish on all time frames, right? As you can tell, we go back out to the weekly time frame. So now that we know we're at the top, we would have to place our areas of interest. Same thing. You guys are seeing how we're doing the same shit. We're just like, we're just keeping the ball moving, right? So this is where we get our line from in here and then in here. So we got to look for areas of interest in between this box. Just drag it to the left and we'll look for the points that make the most sense. So we'll get this horizontal line and we'll start. We'll start from the top down. So we have nothing, 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 nothing. Maybe this right here just looks a little interesting. You see we have some wicks here, some bodies here, some bodies here, a little bit here. What would look better, that one or this one? We have some bodies here. Some bodies. I mean, what would you guys think looks cleaner? That one or that one as area of interest number 1? Area of interest number 1. Ah, see, I got you guys. So area of interest of number 1 would be the first point. The first point where pricing come and then reject, right? So this would be area of interest number 1 on the weekly. So now we'll go for our area of interest number 2, which would obviously be this point because it's the previous structure point. Your area of interest or one of the points has to always be the previous structure point because it can literally just do exactly what it's done for 25,000 years, retest the previous structure point and then just do it again and again and again. So this would be area of interest number 2 on the weekly, right? You guys are seeing that? Simple, clean. I'm getting annoying, right? Yeah, this shit, it gets boring. It's just the same. It's literally just the same shit over and over and over and over again. Like trading is supposed to be boring. Like I make it fun just because, you know, it's entertaining, but that's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be extremely boring. So you would set alerts. I set my alerts at my, like I do nothing with setting an alert at my area of interest number 2 if we haven't even gotten to area of interest 1. Like you got to place it at your area of interest 1 first, right? But before I place it, I first got to identify on the daily, right? So the daily, where would you mark off the daily higher high and higher low? Would the higher low be at point 1, 2, or 3? Ah, fire. All right, 3. So this basically just does this, as you guys can see. Looks pretty much the same. Higher high, pretty obvious, stays in the same spot. So now we do the same exact thing. We look left, we'll mark off the zones that have the most touches. Coincidentally, maybe these bodies here tends to be maybe the same exact points. As you can see, we have some resistance, some support, resistance, resistance. A little bit choppy here. We look more left, some support. For area of interest number 2, it's resistance, support, 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 resistance, support, 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 resistance through here. Obviously resistance, support. So it'd be kind of the same thing, right? So we'll come here, we'll put area of interest 1 daily, and then let's not have that gap. And then area of interest 2 daily. You guys are seeing that, right? It's clean, simple, right? The details, how we know the lines are perfect, voila. We'll get that in the next classes. So this is where we put our alarm, area of interest 1. So now this is where we ask ourselves, what looks cleaner? Does Euro GBP look more ready, or does USD CAD look more ready? Which one looks more ready to take the trade? It's not rocket science. If they look the same, they look the same, you know? Like, it's funny because I see you guys like, fuck, which one is it? It's the same, right? They look literally the same shit because it's supposed to be the same. And like, I don't even answer that question for you guys. Like, you'll answer it yourself. As you can see here, all three of these are at the top. All three of these are at the top. So like it literally answers it for you. Like there's literally nothing different, right? There's just the same. So we keep it going. So GBP CHF. Honestly, we're not even going to waste our time with this. For those of you guys that don't know, I've had the majority of my success, or happen to have, this guy David is ready, bro. David is ready. Yeah, you're totally right, man. Like the majority of my success was in this pair at one point. Like me and this pair were like yin, like brothers, but then it just did this, right? So like we're just at a point where we've never gone ever, like ever. And this is why you don't ever want to go against the trend. Like big time position. Oh yeah, this is like a note to myself. So like if like this trade is completely bearish, this is why we don't know when this is going to stop, right? So as you can tell, if we were to go based off of previous history, obviously price has never been here before, previous history, this was supposed to be the support level, and then we're supposed to buy from here, right? But as you can see, if the trend is to the downside, we don't know when this shit's going to stop. We just keep it going, right? So if it's bearish, you're not trying to get that counter trend trade. As you can see, I was looking for buys above this level because they would have broken above this, use this historically very strong support level around psychological, whatever, right? So we're not even going to waste our time right now because this right now, I literally just, there's no need, right? I'm not trying to be involved in this territory. I don't want to be that guy. But this, I do want to take a very big position like soon. Like when it gets above that level, I'll take like a 3-4 month position buy like this, or like forever, right? So this one, there's literally no point. GBP USD, I believe it's in the same, yeah, same exact spot. We're absolutely at the lowest point. We don't want to get those hero buys. Like that's not what we want to do, right? When you're to build out the confluences, like what makes the most sense here is to sell because we're bearish. You're not looking to buy because you're at the bottom. Because if that would have been the case here, you're going to literally blow your account. It's the same thing, right? We don't know where it's going to stop. So I'm good on GBP USD as well, right? Gold. So I don't trade gold normally, but I've, gone to just sticking to my technicals and everything literally works perfectly. So we'll do it just for examples to show you guys that you can that you can trade on anything. It doesn't have to be like the strategy works on anything, right? So on gold, right? So confluences to go bullish or bearish. Where are we on gold? Well, first of all, are we bullish or are we bearish? Okay. Okay. Now, are we at 1, 2, or 3? Okay. So 1, weekly bearish, and then we are at the bottom, the bikini bottom, SpongeBob, right? So where are we on the daily? On the daily, are we at bullish or bearish? I mean, yeah, you guys are, yeah, okay. So daily, daily is bearish. And are we at 1, 2, or 3? Okay, perfect. So we are on the way to area of interest. And then 4-hour, are we bullish or bearish? Bearish. All right. So we're obviously 3 time frames in sync. Everything is there. 30%, whatever, right? So we go back out to the weekly. Now this is where we set our areas of interest, right? So mean, it's kind of obvious what our, let me see. Yeah, it's pretty obvious where our areas of interest one would be. Basically where we are, or I mean, basically where I already have the line. As you can see, it is a level of support, level of support, level of support, 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 resistance, classic support and resistance break, the same exact resistance, the same exact support, resistance, support, resistance. So this would definitely be area of interest one on the weekly, because clearly whenever we are above this zone, we are buying. Clearly, whenever we are under, we are selling, right? This is a fact. Whenever we are under, we are selling. Whenever we are above, we're buying. In this case, we are under at a lower low, right? You guys are seeing that? Understand that? All right, cool. What would be our area of interest number two? Would it be 0.1 or would it be 0.2? Okay. All right. So it would be 1, right? It's obviously the next point. So as you can see, there is some level of support, some level of support, some support, some support, some resistance. We go over here. There is some support, some little choppy here, that perfect wick support, right? So we got area of interest number 2. Damn, bro, I messed up again, bro. Because we're obviously supposed to do this. We're supposed to do this, lower high. We already know. Whatever, lower low. We do our box from this structure point to this one. So we can look for areas of interest, right? And ideally, like if both of these areas of interest get completely blown out, like there's more areas of interest. Like there's this one. This is obviously a very clean level of support and resistance, but I don't like filling up my chart with 25 gazillion areas of interest. I put 1 and 2 first. Once 1 and 2 break, then we set our next 1 and 2, because obviously these aren't relevant anymore. So now we'll look for the next ones in here when the time comes, if the time comes, right? You don't want to fill up your chart with 25,000 lines, because then at that point now you're focused on these lines more than these. And the reality is that price has the same probability of going down from these versus this. So you put what matters first and you just react and adapt. The price breaks through these and you focus on these when that point comes, right? So you guys get that? Is that clear? Because there is obviously more areas of interest, like, but these are the first 2. And we're just focusing on the first 2 because it's the first 2 that can happen. Like there's no reason you should put energy on these up here when there's so much more that's got to happen by then, right? So we'll delete this. Sometimes it doesn't even, yeah, sometimes it really depends. Super clear. Awesome, right? So on the daily, where would you mark off your daily lower high? Would it be 0.1, 2, or 3? Okay, rinse and repeat. Want to make sure you guys are good. So this would be your lower high, 0.3. What would be your lower low, 1 or 2? Easy. Everybody got that one. All right, bet. So this would be your lower low. So now it would be the same exact thing. You would get your box. You put your box like this, and you drag your box all the way to the left. And then as you can tell, the first 2 areas of interest are practically the same. Area of interest 1 on the daily looks juicy, looks perfect over here on the daily. Like that is like crystal amazingly perfect. Like it does not get any better than that. Like it's just, that's just perfect textbook for area of interest 1. Area of interest 2, here's a little bit choppy. We could probably get maybe a little bit better area of interest 2. So on the daily, we could probably make it here. So let's say our area of interest number 2 on the daily, we'll use array, would be this one, because obviously on the weekly, this one looks a little bit choppy. So we'll do something like this. Area of interest 2 on the daily, because obviously this would be your area of interest 1 on the daily. And yes, in the next classes, trust me, where I'm going to show you guys how you just make all of these lines just literally something like this. How you make all of these lines just something like this. And it looks a lot cleaner. You don't have to have all these lines on there. But yeah, just for now, just so you guys understand how to mark them up, where it is, it's just, pretty simple. Textbook, clean. Why didn't nobody teach me how to read the markets? I mean, yeah, this right now is just so you guys understand how to read them. So you guys are clear. So now knowing this, what looks more ready to take a trade? Would it be gold or Euro GBP or AUD CHF? Which one looks clear? Okay. Okay. AUD or gold. All right. So this is why you get gold and you would put it above Euro GBP. So now this would be top 3, right? Or am I recording? You scared me, man. Yeah, I'm recording, bro. Imagine I wasn't recording that shit. I would have left. That's it. I would have called it a day. No, we're good. Yeah, we're recording. Okay, so now we're on to the next Euro JPY. Euro JPY, same exact thing. We called this whole entire freaking move. It did not pull back. I'm actually glad this is a great example. All right, so weekly. All right, are we bullish or are we bearish? Bullish. All right, weekly. So, okay, confluence is to go long. 1 weekly is bullish, right? So this would be our higher high. Where would a higher low be? Would a higher low be at 0.1, 2, or 3? It's a little confusing, very confusing, this one. Definitely not 1, right? It's either 2 or 3. So I mean, personally, myself, it's very tricky. It's very, very tricky. But for clean purposes, let's put 3 for clean purposes. But I would personally put 2. But let's just put for 3 for clean purposes, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, more of an elbow for sure. This just doesn't look like anything. It just looks like nothing, right? So now we already know. We get our zone. We throw it to the left. So we look for areas of interest then, right? As you can tell, this wouldn't really count because it's too little of a pullback. It's a possibility, but it's just like a minuscule of a pullback. And for such a great, it's like right now, like notice how we had like this higher high. Like we need a nice pullback in order to have the next higher high. So it's the same thing. So we can't really count this as an area of interest 1. So we would put an area of interest more to the left. So this is where we'll get this. So now we can get our horizontal line. We'll look for the most touches. So something like this. Does it keep going left? Yeah, it does. But we don't want to go too far. We want to see this right here. Honestly, around this area would be like probably like the only area of interest I'm interested in, because you need to set like a realistic pullback that we can have. So I like this one because we have support, resistance, 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 support, and then resistance. And then we're retesting, if it were to do this, previous structure level. You see this is a structure point. So we would retest that and then go up to the upside, right? So we'd mark this area of interest 1 weekly, right? Anything else I wouldn't really want to mark as an area of interest. Maybe that point is for the daily, right? So that doesn't really count. So that's all we have for the weekly. So now we'll go on daily, right? And on the daily, are we bullish or are we bearish? Oh, we're bearish. Okay. Just want to make sure. All right, bearish, right? But why are we bearish on the daily? Why are we bearish on the daily, right? So if you notice, we can't set an area of interest like this on the daily because we're obviously heading to the downside. We can't do anything like this because we're bearish. So it would make absolutely no sense. So we would have to go based off of the weekly time frame. That's why we set our areas of interest on the weekly. So key, yeah, this is huge key. See, I told you not all of the pairs that it just doesn't happen to be the examples we got, but this is like the reality of it, right? So this is where you guys would have gotten confused, or we would have just called it a zoom there. But you see, this is why we keep it going through all the pairs. As you can see, we keep it pushing to our area of interest. So now on the daily, we do have areas of interest, but now they're just marked off of whatever makes the most sense. Like if we go back out to the weekly and we get these zones and we throw them. So let's say this would be the resistance, this would be, I mean, this would be the zone. So we're going to look for the areas of interest in between that on the daily, right? Because we're going to mark it off as the same zones. But as you can see, for example, this looks like a clean area, just for an example. As you can see, it's resistance, support, resistance, resistance. But on the weekly, you can't see it. Like you literally see nothing. You can't tell anything at all. So you have to zoom into the daily to see if it's more clear. So on the daily, you're just going to keep it within this blue box and see what are the zones that make the most sense. So this is where you would identify this level, keep it with this level, and you want to throw this one, right? So I would mark off this one as area of interest number 2 on the daily. So this would be area of interest number 2 on the daily. I would go and continue with this to be area of interest number 1 as well on the daily. Area of interest number 1 on the daily. And then this would be area of interest number 2. You guys are seeing it? You guys are seeing how that makes sense? How you guys could have easily, yeah, that's a huge key, bro. Huge key. You guys could have easily gotten confused, right? So if the daily is bearish because it has to go bearish to make its way back to this area of interest, you find those zones within the box. Yeah, you just look at the points to the left. Just the left is so far away that, you know, but it's the same thing. Like I've already marked off this level. As you can see where I have the alarm right now, it's a very clean level. It's a very powerful level. So right now on this daily is bearish. So where are we? Are we 1, 2, or 3 on the daily? Okay. Dope. So we're on the way to area of interest. So 4 hour, are we bullish or bearish? I'm going to show you guys something that's going to trip you guys up. Okay. Easy, right? 4 hour is bearish. Now tell me this doesn't look the same. Again, notice, let's say this would be the higher high, right? So let's say this would be the higher high. This would be the higher low. Body closed under, pull back. Tell me it doesn't look the same as this. Literally the same higher high, body closed under, boom. We did a lower low to come in. Bro, Johnny's tripping. The same exact thing, just on your JPY. It's literally the same shit. So now we're possibly going to have now a lower low to this area of interest to then have the push to the upside. Yeah, you're seeing how it's like the same thing, kind of just like repeating itself. It's going to click. It's only, we're starting week 2 right now, right? So we're just getting, just getting started. Yeah, head and shoulders, all that stuff, right? So obviously this one looks cool. This one actually looks pretty clean. So we have obviously these 2 time frames bears because we have to create the higher low for the weekly, right? You guys are seeing that. It's very simple. So where would you guys, so for obviously first area of interest would be this one. So your retesting area of interest. So where would you guys put Euro JPY? Would you put it above gold? Would you put it above Euro GBP? Where would you put it? Okay. Above, okay, yeah, above Euro GBP. Because obviously this one, everything is at the top. As you can see, this one is already on the way to the area of interest, right? We keep it pushing. Euro USD, for the same example as like GBP USD and like all these other ones, like bro, we're at this crazy rock bottom, like crazy, like this is like historic, like since like 2003, like it's insane, right? So I'm good. I'm not trying to get involved on there. I don't want to do nothing there. So I just keep it going. USD JPY, same exact thing, like big time. There's nothing to the left. I know if you were to go over to like the other one, like FXCM, like there is something there, but I'm just going based off of Oanda, and then I'm good. Like we're at a resistance, approaching a very strong resistance on the monthly. I'll probably catch some sells, like, you know, maybe if we go bearish on the 4 hour, but this is just like me, personal stuff. It's completely against what I'm showing you guys right now. It's like if you guys see me drifting my car, like I don't recommend that. You know, I'm just teaching you guys how to drive it regularly. So as of right now, here, nothing, no need to give it energy. Why does it show on the other servers? Because I think in 2003 is when Oanda was established as a broker. I think so. And that's when it started like showing all of this market. I think FXCM has been around longer. But just those gaps are killer, bro. Like literally killer. So USD JPY, nothing. I think it's the same thing with NZD JPY. No, not at all, actually. So NZD JPY is a lot cleaner. So NZD JPY, right? Are we bullish or are we bearish? Okay. 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 So one would be weekly is bullish, right? So now we'll go down to the daily time frame. Daily time frame, are we bullish or are we bearish? Daily we are bearish. Then 4 hour, are we bullish or are we bearish? Okay. Okay. 4 hour, we are bearish, right? This again, top analysis. We go back to the top. So are we at 1, 2, or 3? Okay. So it could, okay, you guys, all of you guys are right? So it could be either 2 or 3 because we don't know where our areas of interest are, right? This is we'll put, well, first let's identify the area of interest, right? So where would we identify our area of interest, right? So it would be the same thing. First things first, establish where the higher high is. Would the higher low be 0.1 or 2? Okay. Okay, so it'd be 0.2. So it'd be the same exact thing. We would get our zone, mark off our zone, throw it to the left. So now we'd mark off our area of interest on the weekly. Pretty obvious where our first area would be. Would it be 0.1 or would it be 0.2? Okay, so it's actually a big trick question, right? So if price were to have been like this would have been our area of interest 1, right? Because it's the first point where price could have come back in and then rejected. But due to the fact that we already broke under that, it's clearly not an area of interest anymore because we're obviously under it. So this would be area of interest number 1. Trippy, right? Clean. You guys are seeing it. It's making sense. Obviously, let's say we're to look left. It's okay. It's an okay level of support. Some resistance here, some resistance, but we're mainly focused on relative. I mean, most recent price, which is pretty like it's super relevant, right? So this would be area of interest 1 on the weekly, right? There's really nothing else. Anything below that would basically make this bearish. So now we'll go down to the daily time frame. So kind of like Euro JPY, how the daily is bearish. So now right now on NZD JPY, the daily is bearish as well. So this is where we will mark off the area of interest based off of the box. So we're not going based off of the higher high or the higher low anymore. We're going off of what makes the most sense. Obviously, it would have to be from this point down, because anything from this point up, it's clearly not an area of interest because we've already broken it. So now we're just focused on anything from here down. You're just seeing how we're squeezing in the zones. You guys are seeing how everything is fire, 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 clear. Bro, I'm telling you, these recordings are like crucial. Like these recordings, I'm gonna like throw them in a safe if I can, right? Let me fix this. Area of interest 1. So right, so pretty much there's nothing else. So this would be the only area of interest. Holy shit, like we're at the spot where we're looking to buy on the weekly and on the daily. Like we're at the spot, right? If we were to start building the confluences, I'm sure the first thing you can see is area of interest, and then daily EMA, daily rejection candle. 4 hour is about to go bullish. So as soon as we break above this candlestick right here, this is obviously the 4 hour lower high. Now the 4 hour would then go bullish. Like this looks more ready than GJ. As you can see, GJ is still fully bearish on the 4 hour. We have all of these exact same confluences, but on NZD JPY. So this would go as top 1. Round psychological, we just double tap right this. I'll get into this into the next class, but yeah, this could be an added boom, 85, 500. So this would definitely be top 2. So as of right now, you guys are seeing how all of that looks clear, clean. You guys are seeing it. Clear, fire. Okay, let's keep it going. So NZD USD, we'll start off. Right now, are we at 1, 2, or 3? 1, 2, or 3. Okay, exactly 1. We're at the bottom, so we're literally all the way at the bottom. Daily, are we 1, 2, or 3? From what you can see. Okay. Okay, yeah. 1, maybe 2. Okay, we don't know the areas of interest. And then this is the same thing. So we're not even gonna give energy into this. We have already a bunch of juicy pairs. And you can see it like as soon as you come into the market, right? Like you don't have to waste a lot of energy, right? So are we at 1, 2, or 3? Okay, fire. Obviously, we're at a lower low. So this is 1. Daily, are we at 1, 2, or 3? Okay. Okay. It could technically be all of them. It could technically be 1, 2, or 3. It really depends where you set your areas of interest. If this is your area of interest, technically we're there already. You know, it would really depend where we are. So right now, AUD USD, I just don't like the fact how we're like, I don't know, there's just some pairs where I just don't like, I don't know, it just doesn't click. So I just go to another one. It's really that easy, you know. And then AUD JPY, not even gonna waste our time with it because we already have 2 JPY pairs, and then it's just simple, right? First of all, AUD and NZD USD, they move the same. They're literally kind of like GB, they're kind of like AUD, and it's like Euro GBP and GJ. They're opposite. AUD and NZD, they move the same. As you can see, like if we flick through it fast, they literally look the same. So you see here, bullish structure, big push, bullish structure, big push. As you can see, it's like in a triangle right now. It's in a triangle right now, and it's simple. Which one looks better? Obviously, NZD JPY looks like it's retesting it perfectly. AUD JPY looks like it's peaking at a top. So we're going to stick with the one that looks cleaner. No need to waste our time with this. And then CAD JPY, it's literally the same exact thing as UJ. So it's like at the highest point right now, which I'm good, right? So we go through all of these markets, and now we've just closing down everything to all of these right here. So as you can see, this needs a big time. So far we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pairs. So as of right now, Euro GBP, it needs a pullback into this level to go long. Euro JPY, we need a pullback at this level to go long. Gold, we need a pullback into one of these levels to go short. Let's just take this off. And then AUD CHF, we need to pull back here to go short or here to go short. GJ, we're at the area to buy. NZD JPY, we're at the area to buy. So you're seeing how we're kind of like organizing them based off of which ones are ready, which ones are not, right? This is simply by just reading the market. Are we bullish? Are we bearish? And where are we? Are we on the way to buy? Are we at the area to buy? It's very simple, right? So this is kind of what we are going to wait for this week. Same thing how last week, how I pretty much did that with USD CAD, this with Euro GBP. We're going to do the same exact thing with all of these pairs this week. You guys are going to see how it's going to, you know, potentially, hopefully play out beautifully. What would your entry signal be? Entry signals last week. We're going to wait for that on the last week. So everything, it just, we keep it like with the rhythm, right? Because we get into entry signals right now, we'd be skipping a lot of stuff. So obviously this, we'll just mark it off. So we have 10%. Notice how they're exactly the same. Notice how here we have 10%, or technically, well, 10% in the direction we want to buy. And then notice how here it's the same exact 10%. You guys are seeing how it's the same shit. Like it's the same exact thing, but just a different pair. So we're retesting right here, number two, retesting, or retesting weekly area of interest. And number three, we would put retesting round psych 85.500. If we go down to the daily, we already on the daily, daily retesting daily area of retesting daily area of interest. And then 5, retesting daily EMA. Notice how it's the same exact thing as GJ. So now let me do this, retesting daily EMA. So now from this, all we would do is pick which one do we put our money into. Do we put it into this one or do we put it into this one? And that is what we will figure out in the next upcoming weeks. So I hope this is a nice Zoom.